Hello there and welcome. As always, this is Mikhail or Michael speaking, but you can call me Free Russian if you like. Now, before the video starts, as always, I want to say thank you all who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal, or Super Thanks. Due to my recent absence on YouTube, my financial situation became rather difficult, and thanks to you, I was able to survive. So again, I'm very thankful for your support, and I wish you have a great day. Now, today's video, I will start with somewhat of a breaking news, because according to even pro-Ukrainian sources, Russians successfully stormed and entered the city of Toretsk proper. Here is the post founded on Ukrainian sources, in which what would seem to be an Ukrainian commander saying that as of recently, Russian forces started attacking Toretsk city directly and not its agglomerations. This would mean that Russian positions in Zalizne were secure enough, which then allowed Russians to advance towards the city. Current state of Zalizne is unclear, because according to some sources, Russian forces captured this settlement in its entirety. However, according to other sources, like Syriac maps, as you can see here, Russians are controlling about 70% of this settlement. The reports of Russians entering Toretsk came in only few hours after new and recent Russian territorial advances within Zalizne village, with this portion of the city coming in under Russian control. As you can see in context of the territories Ukrainians held within the city before, this is a rather significant advance. In addition to that, Russians also advanced ever slightly on the northern portion of this city and captured this sector of the city in the process. It seems with those territorial changes, Russians now gained ability to attack towards Pivnichne in support of Russian attacks that are already coming from the east, thus applying immense pressure on Ukrainian formations that found themselves in a small pocket, which you can see now. If nothing is to be done, Russian forces will continue to advance in a pincer-like maneuver while pressing forward, forcing Ukrainians to retreat further behind towards the city of Toretsk. Both Pivnichne and Druzhba are absolutely crucial for Ukrainian defense efforts in this area. This is the only two settlements that stand in between Russians and the city of Toretsk from this axis as well. So again, the fall of those two settlements would be a disaster for the Ukrainians. One of the reasons why those two settlements can fall faster than expected is due to Russians advancing towards Toretsk. As they will advance, they will slowly envelop Pivnichne and would gain more and more vectors of attacks. With so much stress applied at only one point, the defense will surely break. On the interesting note, when it comes to pro-Ukrainian sources, they had reported on somewhat the same thing. Here was the situation of yesterday, and here is the situation of today, with those territories coming in under Russian control. So as you can see, both Russians and Ukrainians acknowledged this recent Russian advance, as well as Russian attack towards Toretsk itself. From Toretsk direction, let's go to Seversk and quickly discuss recent new Russian territorial change near the village of Rozdolivka, which Russians captured some time ago, and since then worked to increase the buffer zone around the village and initiate the battles for the next villages in line, be it Fidorivka or Pirizne, with this portion of the front line coming in under Russian control. This too was reflected on a pro-Ukrainian map, and the fact that it has a topography would only help more. As you can see, this was the situation of yesterday, and here is the situation of today, with these territories coming in under Russian control. If we zoom in just a little, we can see that technically Russians took control over the tactical dominating heights that overlooked the village of Rozdolivka. It wasn't an easy fight also, because Ukrainians had a various and difficult trench fortification systems located all along this hill in an attempt to prevent Russians from entering this massive valley and wreaking havoc there. Now, after so many days of battle, that attempt obviously failed. With the fall of Rozdolivka and its surrounding areas, Russians now gained full ability to launch attacks either in the direction of Fidorivka, with support attacks from Mykolaiivka and Sako-Ivanseti, or attack across this field towards the village of Pirizne. Again, nothing stops Russians from doing so simultaneously, so perhaps this is exactly what we're going to see on this particular portion of the front. Then from here, let's go to Avdiivka and discuss recent Russian developments in this area. First, it is important to note that there is an ongoing heavy battle for the village of Zalizne. Here, Russians are attacking in this direction in an attempt to fully capture it, and Ukrainians are doing everything in their power to stop them from doing so. In case of Russians fully capturing this village, Ukrainian positions located in this general area will be compromised. And as the general dynamic of Russian advances on this front line suggests, Russians will almost immediately attack Novozhelanya, which would only worsen the situation for the Ukrainian formations fighting in this area. As the battle for Zhelane carries on, Russians advanced across the open fields north of Progress in the direction of Ivanivka, with this portion of the front line coming in under Russian control. Yet again, those territorial changes were also covered by a pro-Ukrainian source. As you can see, here was the situation of yesterday, and here is the situation of today, with these territories coming in under Russian control. You can also see Russian advance from Luzovatska in the direction of Timofeevka, which is also acknowledged by both pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian sources. According to the news, Russians successfully entered the village and entrenched themselves within the first houses of it. The battle for Timofeevka just started, and seemingly the battle for Ivanivka will start soon. Of course, if it hadn't started as I was recording or you watching this video. From Ivanivka, let's move further south and discuss recent Russian advance from the village of Pobeda. Now, unfortunately, Syriac maps had not updated the map yet, but if you look at these, you can see where the Russian advance took place. As you can see, Russians advanced along this road, but just because they advanced just along the road, those territorial gains can be easily challenged by flank attacks. So far, it didn't happen, and as a result, Ukrainians lost another Leopard 2 tank. On the video, you can see Ukrainian Leopard 2 tank firing just once and almost immediately had received a return fire. Then the tank was changing positions, and as a result of that, was exposed and hit by the Russians. Later on, the Leopard 2 tank was abandoned, and Russian forces unleashed hell into it, firing with artillery, anti-tank rockets, and Lancet drones. As you can see, the damage is extensive. The ammo rack, as well as the fuel tanks, are burning, and the smoke coming from the hatch can indicate that the crew compartment is also compromised. It would mean the fire will continue to rage on until everything inside the tank burns. It seems that this new Russian vector of attack is coming in support of Russians actively storming the outskirts of Konstantinivka. Of course, there is still a long way along the road, but nevertheless, Ukrainians will be forced to relocate some of their troops from other portions of the front as well as Konstantinivka, weakening its defense to stop this new Russian attack. So in conclusion, the attack from Pobeda is a diversion so that Russians fighting in Konstantinivka can have a better chance. With this I end today's video. Hopefully it was to your liking and was informative enough. If it was, please consider supporting it by a like, comment, or if you haven't subscribed, a subscription. After long absence, your support is all that I need. Thank you in advance for you considering it. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day and always remember, Russia will be free and great.